Hey guys, so in this video today, I want to discuss why Ciryl Gane, I personally believe, is the worst talent in the UFC. Let's get into it. In order for me to talk about Ciryl Gane being bad as a talent, we firstly have to talk about what he's good at. So let's get into it. Firstly, I think he's very athletic. I think we all know this. He's known as a guy who's a very multi-sport athlete. I don't know if everyone's seen the videos of him playing basketball. There's videos of him training Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing. And this athleticism has helped him beat, people like Spivak, Lewis, Volkov. You get into the Rosenstrikes, even Tuivasa, Dos Santos, these people in the division. To be honest, he has a very good Muay Thai background when I think about it. He's 14-0 in Muay Thai. And he was 10-0 in professional MMA at one point. He had a lot of wins. He also, not only is stand-up, but he has very good submissions. Pretty good submissions. He's leg-locked a few people, I think. Submitted a lot. But he's not bad. And he has a very good frame for MMA. He's very tall, lanky, lengthy, got a good build. Could be a bodybuilder. Guy's huge, And he's so, whenever we see him in there, he looks so free. And again, I'm going to use the word again, athletic. He looks so I know he's fighting these goobers, these fat heavyweights, but the way he moves around like a bit of a middleweight, I would say, or welterweight. He moves around so light on his feet. Prancing around, his kicks are so sharp. But there we go. Time to quit the glazing. Let's get into why, he's a bit of a failed talent. So, to get into my first reason why I think he's a failed talent, I would say, firstly, he declines fights with basically every tough matchup he would have. When you think about tough matchups in the heavyweight division, I know Pavlovich got beat, Volkov and Aspinall. But before that, he was on a 6-fight knockout streak. Just knocking outs, like running through the guys that Gane had issues with. I mean, Gane didn't have any issues with Lewis, but he beat him and Tuivasa both in the first round with basically no fight back. He just destroyed them. And Gane avoided him. Gane, instead of fighting him, went inactive. When Gane got the offer to fight Aspinall, he said no. Instead, took a fight with Spivak. And as soon as he said he won, as soon as the Aspinall fight even got offered to him, he went to go film a movie. He's avoided Jailton Almeida, avoided Curtis Blades, and I think this really hurts his legacy and also the way he's going to be remembered. Not only that, as a bit of a side note, it does affect his aura as a fighter because he's known as a kind of a guy who ducks people now. Compared to him in 2021 where we saw him win 4 or 5 fights in a year. He beat Rosenstrike, Volkov, Lewis. He went from being like a number 8 contender to having an interim championship at the end of that year. And just from the way we saw him in 2021 as this undefeated contender, 10-0 in MMA, 14-0 in Muay Thai, and where he's fell to from there, it's quite insane to see the transition. Because since the end of 2021, he's only beat Tuivasa and Spivak over the course of 2 years. And of course, his losses aren't bad. He lost to Ngannou and he lost to Jones. We're going to get into both those losses in a little bit. But the fact that he's declining any real dangerous matchup and the only real actually highly ranked contender he's fought at the moment is Volkov. And that was in 2021, 3 years ago, when Volkov had just come off a win against Alistair Overeem of all people. And Volkov definitely wasn't as good as he is now. We've clearly seen. I think Volkov after the Aspinall fight has got a lot better. But we just never see Gane put his ranking on the line against anyone. Actually difficult matchups for him. Like Spivak kinda, I guess, but these fat blobs of heavyweights, it's not what we want to see. I wanted to see, sure, people don't like him, but Jailton Almeida, Tai Tuivasa. No, not Tai Tuivasa. I want to see Jailton Almeida or an Aspinall or a Blades even fight Gane, because I want to see how he would do against a wrestler. We haven't seen a particularly high-level wrestler fight Gane and lose. The only high-level wrestler he's fought is Jones, and he got beat. And Jones isn't that high-level anyway. He's more of a striker. And he poked holes in so much of Gane's game that fight. He just basically, it felt like he was toying with him. But either way, that's the first reason. On to the next one. Okay, on to my next few points about why I think Ciryl Gane's a failed talent is that he only really fights once a year. We only really see him in there. Then before that, it was against Jones. And then, but he hasn't fought in a year anyway. He was going to fight Volkov on 308. Now he's going to fight at 310. And that's really the only hard fight he's had since he fought Jones or Ngannou. And he's gone 2-2 in his last 4 with not many good wins to show for it. He also has a lack of fight IQ. And this is like my main point. I think this is a very important point about Gane that we forget about. Now, put yourself in context. UFC 270 is 2-2, and Gane are 2-2 going into the last round. Gane has a chance to get up, knowing he can outstrike Ngannou, knowing Ngannou's tired with bad knees and how good his leg kicks are. Instead, he rolls for a leg lock with 2 minutes 30 to go. He was winning the round up until then, I'm pretty sure. Ngannou basically powers his way out of it eventually, but he had a long time to get up. Ngannou was very slow to get on top. Anyways, Ngannou rolls on top and sits on top of him the rest of the round. People argue, the fight could have gone to Gane. But anyways, it gets given to Ngannou. But just this is a great example of how Gane's fight IQ lets him down. Why is he rolling for a leg lock when he could have easily got up? Not easily. I don't want to make it sound very easy, but simply a lot simpler than submitting a world champion. He could have got up, jabbed him for the rest of the round, won the title. He instead rolled for a leg lock that he wasn't really that close to getting at any point, and then gave up the position and basically just got fucked up for the rest of the round. That is a great explanation of his lack of high IQ. Of course, the other example that is more widely known, I'd say, is his fight against Jones, where everyone looked like retards that said Gane was going to win. I thought Gane was going to win, and I won't say that with any doubt in my mind, because I actually thought Gane was still dangerous. And Gane just went through and was just mediocre at best in that fight. He's fighting like an amateur against Jones. Don't get me wrong, Jones, he's got a bit of dodgy shit now, but he was a GOAT. But even Jones looked so slow and lethargic in that fight. I think Gane, if he was actually trained, he would have actually had a chance. And he doesn't take his fighting career serious. We've seen him before that Jones fight. He was playing FIFA the whole night. Don't get me wrong, Topuria drinks wine during his weight cuts, does all this shit as well, but he knocks people out. He wins fights. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you win. Jones used to go out and party, but he still beat the shit out of people. Gane can't afford to do that. He has had 2 chances at a world title. He's failed both of them. And I think the UFC gift him too much because they know he brings the European audience. Similar thing with Prohaska, but Prohaska actually beats people. But Gane kind of helps them because he's the really only French guy who is even close to fighting for a title. So they just give him any chance he gets. And honestly, I think he's allergic to having many exciting fights. Now, that is a crazy thing to say, I know. Because you look at his fight with Tuivasa and you're like, that was exciting. But why was that exciting? Was it exciting because Gane put a clinic on him? Not really. It kind of got exciting because Tuivasa was the one walking at him. If they were at range, that fight would have gone 5 rounds where Gane would have jabbed him and leg kicked him from range. As we saw in all of his wins in 2021, that was basically what was happening. Sure, he beat Dos Santos by an elbow, but that was kind of to the back of the head if you think about it. And most of his fights against Volkov, Rosenstrike, I forget the other guys he fought, but most of his fights against these guys, they were mostly just jabs at range. He often leg kick. We call Adesanya boring, but when you really think about it, Ciryl Gane doesn't really have many exciting fights that I can really pick off the top of my head. They're just you look at his fight with Derek Lewis. That's a very bad title fight. Don't get me wrong, Derek Lewis is kind of his fault because he's shit. But you do kind of have to put some blame on Gane as well because he's not pushing the pace. He's kind of just prancing around. He knows he's quicker than these guys, so he's just sitting on the back foot. Don't get me wrong, there's good fight IQ, he doesn't get dragged into a war, but it just doesn't help him from a fan standpoint because he's not being exciting at all. But anyways, that's my points. If you want to add anything to the comment section, feel free. If you disagree with me as well, add it to the comment section. But I genuinely believe that these are the reasons why he's the most failed contender. Because he's so athletic. He's so powerful. He's not that powerful, but he's very strong, athletic. He's got a good frame for MMA. He's got very, long arms, long legs. Usually a lot bigger than his opponents. And he still fails to really, capitalize on this. And he's losing. In that Jones fight, he could have won. And don't get me wrong, he's done well in his career. He was an interim title holder at one point, beat Lewis. But when you really look back on it at the end of the day, you're going to realise that he was at one of the... don't get me wrong, Ngannou's a good champion. But I think he was at one of the easier periods at heavyweight, I would say. You know, Stipe was very old. Stipe just got beat off Ngannou. Gane beat Lewis for the interim belt. Fought Ngannou, then took 9 months off, and then comes back and fights Tuivasa. Gets a title shot. Gets beat off like a 36-year-old Jones, who's just awful. Now, if it was Gane maybe 2-3 years ago, I would say, oh, he's still got time. I'm pretty sure Gane is 34 at the moment, which is just insane because it just still feels like he's like 29, young contender. But he's getting up there in age. And I mean, heavyweight, don't get me wrong, it doesn't really matter how old you are, but I think he could have, if he had a lot more fight IQ, and I think Fernando Lopez in his corner isn't a great coach either. I think that if he had a better coach and he had more focused training, I think that he could genuinely have been a champion with 1 or 2 title defenses. If Gane really locked in, him versus Aspinall is the most competitive fight at heavyweight. But he doesn't. That's why we're talking about Gane as this kind of side character at the moment. Because we know if you just wrestle him, he'll lose. And he's very... I don't know. He gives up way too easy in the fights where he actually needs to win and needs to push a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, the only fight we saw him with adversity was against Tuivasa. Against people like Jones and Ngannou, as soon as he got taken down, it just felt like he got flattened out and he was just there for the rest of the round. He didn't really care. There was no urgency behind any of his movements. And I think for these reasons, you have to call Gane one of the most failed talents in the UFC, or the most failed talent, because he's had so many opportunities. Like, the UFC have blessed him, even fighting these fat heavyweights, but he never capitalized on it. That's why I think he's a failed talent. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching.